Oh, from New York, New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental from my apartment in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. I am Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer, David Goss, Mr. Charlie Davies, Sir.
Not partners.
Not the kind of partners I wish I was.
Charlie Davies has his name on the law firm. We're just below him.
Yeah, we're like, we're back in the back room. We're filing things. We're making sure everything goes smoothly every day. But when the plaudits come, it goes straight to the top. When they hand out that trophy, we're not lifting it. Charlie Davies is lifting it. He is officially the owner of a professional soccer team. Charlie Davies, everyone. A round of applause from home. Charlie, before we talk about the Audi 2020 MLS Cup Playoffs, which start on Friday, tell us about this, man. We're jacked. We're excited for you.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overcome with a number of emotions. I grew up in New Hampshire. That was where I learned to love this game, and to come back full circle and bring a professional soccer team, professional sports back to the state of New Hampshire, and knowing that I'm going to impact so many people's lives with this club, the exposure to professional soccer, the commitment we're going to have to the community. It just really moves me. I could be in tears right now, but I'm holding them back. But yeah, I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. And Jeremy Zalanis, who reached out to me to help, who's kind of running point with our ownership group, has just been awesome. And we really know that we're going to change a lot of people's lives for the better.
So now that you're in this sphere, explain to us the Roman Abramovich, you sell a yacht for a striker. Like, how do you weigh out which yacht and which house is worth that player?
Yeah, I mean, we come to it. If we're talking about it, it depends what kind of player we're talking about.
You just go down in the basement, check out the Reds.
I think
see what you got,
Lewandowski
what the vintage is, what
his
year.
Yeah.
What you can sell, what you need to drink, just because it's the Charlie Davies lifestyle.
Population in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Triviento, right?
Oh, yes, exactly. Well played. Well played. Before we move on, we're going to talk all about the Eastern Conference today. That's kind of our schedule here because the play-in round is on Friday. 2 games for you. We have Daryl Dike as well on this show, which is awesome. We've been wanting to talk to him for a long time. Yeah. Absolute beast mode. Paint me a little picture, Charlie. Like, you're excited, you feel honored, you're going to change people's lives, but like, we want to, this is the show where we did fake expansion bids and spent literal days on those efforts. Like, I need details, bro. I need to know where this stadium's going to be. I need to know what branding is going to look like. I need to know who designed your crest. I mean, I need to know it all.
I can't release those details.
Oh my God.
I can't. It's literally top secret. All I know is you will both be, I think, over the moon with what we are able to put together, and the people that we're going to bring into the fold. I think also, everyone has to work together in order to really make a brand work, a club work. And so when it comes down to the details of the crest, it comes down to the details of the jersey, which we'll get to for Austin. I think Austin FC, when you look at their club jersey, phenomenal. I think they hit it out of the park. Grand slam with the launch, the way it looks, the feel of that jersey. That's what we want to have with our club. But also just having it really be authentic to New Hampshire. I think that's key. And so you both will be, I think, pleased with the outcome.
Charlie, you know what would put me over the moon? What do I have to do to get this team named the Gosses? What do I have to do to get this team named after me? People have talked about naming kids after me, which I respect.
Yeah.
But I think that to inspire a group, you need to follow that name, and my name could be perfect for it.
Empire Goss SC. I'm just throwing it out there.
What could be more New Hampshire than
we've got the Twitter handle, Charlie.
You know what? I love the both of you. I think you're great, but you got no shot.
Hey, it's worth a try. It's worth a try. We'll be in the stands. We'll be somewhere. We'll be enjoying it.
I'll tell you one thing. You both will be kitted out.
Nice. Woo! That's always. Exactly that. That's
right
how to get to our hearts.
I'm
free
putting
stuff.
Up every show.
Free stuff. All right. Look, we're going to talk Eastern Conference. Before we do that, the 2020 Continental Awards are out. You can go to celebratingsoccer.com and Continental Tire's YouTube to watch that show. We will start to release the winners, but if you want to know who won and you want to get the explanation behind it and how the listener vote played into that, because the listener vote did break a couple ties, go check that out. Celebratingsoccer.com and the Continental Tire YouTube, the 2020 Continental Awards. Any beef with those, Charlie? I know you weren't on the show with us. It was on Monday. Did you think we got anything wrong? You always have an opinion. No, Anthony Fontana didn't get a shout out, but
you know what? I have one category where I think the award could have gone to another player and a deserving player, and that's the College Player of the Year award. Daryl Dike came in hot. He really showed at the end of the season. He built into this player that has changed the game for Orlando City. You know what you're going to get from Daryl Dike now, and has really developed into a top striker in Major League Soccer. But Henry Kessler has been consistent from match 1 to playoffs. That is a player who has really taken advantage of the opportunity and has done it for a full season. Now, Daryl Dike, for the last couple of months, has really excelled and has shown, man, this guy's quality, and has kind of played his way into winning this category. But I think consistency speaks a lot, and to do it for the full year as a first-year professional, being the best defender, period, for the New England Revolution, I think that speaks volumes.
I think it speaks volumes of your personal development and growth, Charlie Davies, that you would come on this show and faced with a goal-scoring striker who may one day play for the U.S. national team and who we could possibly literally be recruiting by proxy, not with any sort of mandate from Greg Berhalter on this show, that you would honor the defender. That's personal growth, man. You've come a long way.
But
all right.
Lev, so
yeah.
But I also said I'm okay with it.
Okay.
So it wasn't like you guys are completely wrong.
So no errors.
I think it also
Perfect
shows
winners.
that I'm rubbing off on you guys. You guys are making the right decisions. You're making the right decisions. I'm proud of both of you. You have also grown and matured.
Sounds like someone you could name a professional soccer team after. That's just me.
That sounds fair. That sounds pretty fair. All right, let's talk playoffs. Big news in Major League Soccer. You may have seen the article from Jeff Carlisle on what may happen if the state of our society once again seeps into the state of our soccer league. COVID-19 remains and is increasingly so a threat to us and our communities. We encourage you again, be safe, be responsible, wear your mask at all times in public, do your best not to mix among people that you're not normally around. That is how this virus spreads. And if you look across the country, those red zones, those hot zones, they're really, really popping, and it's getting pretty scary. Here in New York City,
the United States.
Yes, here in New York City, they've closed down the schools. That may mean that we're going to have more kids banging through this door if the daycare is closed as well. But across the country, please be safe. We know holiday season's coming up. We know this has been mentally stressful. It's been physically an ordeal as well. But do what you can to keep you and your family safe. If you didn't see that article, go check it out. We haven't heard anything official on that. But what we do know, and we've seen this both with our own eyes via social media, and because it's been reported, charter flights are bringing the international players who we expected and have talked about missing round 1 games back from duty wherever they were in the world. So you see the likes of Jamiro Montero, et cetera, all around the league coming back on charter flights. That changes the game in the play-in rounds and in round 1 because those players will not have to quarantine per the experts that Major League Soccer is working with on this. We didn't know that. We didn't see that coming necessarily. We thought they were going to be gone, but that changes the way we'll talk about things and certainly probably changes what we said on Monday about the Western Conference. Remember, Friday, there's a pregame show, as there is for every day, the Audi 2020 MLS Cup Playoffs pregame show. Watch that. Susanna, Kaylin, Doyle, etc. And then after every single night of games, all the way up to the conference finals, Extra Time has post-game duties.
It is.
I've got a couple nice bottles of Brown up above my fridge.
I got some Willet right here.
Depending on the takes, you'll know where we're at with that and whether or not we've been given the green light. Let's quickly, before we get to those nitty-gritty previews, the quick hits here, thoughts on the Houston rebrand, guys. What do you think?
The Houston Dash knocked it out of the park.
You don't like the Dynamo one?
H.
Don't even tell me you like it. Don't even don't even try and give me the devil's advocate or anything.
No, wait.
They
Charlie,
did a good job in that rebrand.
I think the HD, the typeface is very cool. And
Agreed.
if you take that out and put that on anything, I will wear it. If you give me a black hat with just that, like what Weeby's wearing for Austin right now, I would rock that.
Strip it
the
down.
Full crest, I would agree. It was not my favorite, which is why I liked the dash because it was just the big H with the baby blue and the orange.
Okay, here's what I like. And I understand your skepticism, Charlie, in every single rebrand in this league and otherwise. Like, they could rebrand your Razor brand and you'd be like, I don't like it. Actually, you're probably in the Gillette zone and, you're a Revs guy, so you'd probably love it. But I think going all in on Houston is the right move for the Dynamo. What I would say to the Dynamo is that your rebrand isn't what's going to connect you with the city. It's going to help, but ultimately the 2 stars on top of your crest, that's what you need to get back to. You need to get back to winning, being competitive, and on the flip side, doing that while representing your city, whether that be by improving your ability to connect the academy to the first team, whether that be signing players and marketing players and connecting those players with people in Houston that they will identify with and be down with and want to represent them and identify with. That's all extremely important. I'm with Dave. If you rip the HD off of there and put that on a crest, and somebody tweeted this as us, and I thought it was spot on. The sort of old school Rangers, Glasgow Rangers, sort of cursive
letterface.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. And if you pull that off and put it on things, I think it has a really cool, kind of old school, deeply embedded in the history of the game look. But again, you got to win. You got to win.
Yeah,
that's ultimately what the brand's all about. If New Hampshire, whatever, doesn't win, Charlie, we're going to get skeptical too. I'm just saying.
Well, I'll tell you right now, it won't be anything like that. It won't be a baseball crest. It looks
all
like
right.
a baseball.
Let's go to something that you like. Something that you like. The Austin FC first home jersey. You like that, so come with some positivity.
I love. They just knocked it out of the park. One.
You just said don't come with a baseball crest, and then you gave me the knock it out of the park reference. I'm just all right. Come on.
They hit a hat trick. Okay.
Okay. Fine. There you go.
Debut hat trick.
Right foot, left foot header. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
What I love is the colors. I love the green. I love the black. I love the stripes. I love the sponsor Yeti, the way it looks on the kit, and just the way they announced it to the world. I'm a fan of the whole thing. I think when I look at that jersey, I'm like, it's an original, even though it's not so different from LA United's with the stripe down. I just look at it. I'm like, it's so different than any other MLS club. Yeah.
I agree with you I love their color scheme. And I agree that when they step on the field, you will be like, that's Austin.
Yes.
Which some teams, Miami this year, Nashville, although the yellow is unique, so it stands out.
Yeah.
Didn't have. The jersey is an Atlanta United jersey with green colors.
And look, the thing is, we've talked to Adidas folks on this show, the people who are behind the scenes making this happen. I did not expect the first jersey out of the gates because of the turnaround time, because of the fact you basically have to decide your brand early on to be something way outside the box. I never expected that. So I was happy with this because, like you guys said, when you see it, you know. Whether it's because of the colors, whether it's because of the crest, whether it is because of the Yeti. And look, in international soccer, club soccer, sponsors do become very sort of identifiable with clubs. That's the whole point of sponsoring, right?
If I saw Vodafone, I'd still think Man U.
Right. I see. I think Dreamcast. I
don't even know what O2 does.
Yeah. O2. Exactly. That's what you want. So when I see it, I know who I'm watching on the field, wherever. I am interested to see where they can take this in the future with more time to understand the culture of their club, the culture of their supporters, the culture of the city, and the way that the city integrates itself with that club. I think they have a solid start, and it will build off of. I would not say it's like a 10 out of 10, but I'll give them a solid 7, and I think that's a good start.
So, Charlie, this is what I would ask you. You look at LAFC right there, even that SKC jersey. You would rock those wherever. Jeans, whatever, wear them out. It doesn't have to be to a game. Do you think you or anyone would wear this Austin FC jersey as random streetwear around, or only to a game?
I would. People wear it all the time for any occasion, hanging out, whether you're just playing outside, whether you're hanging out with friends. Yeah, I think that's a kit that you can rock with jeans. Obviously, you got to have some style, some flavor, but
Charlie's not your jeans, my jeans.
I'm also down with this because it's so original. It's different, and if you're ever repping a jersey, you're repping what it stands for. And so if you're from Texas, if you're from Austin, you wear it with pride, for sure, 100%. And I'm definitely down with it. So, kudos to Austin FC, their marketing team, their PR team, and then Josh Wolf and Claudio Reyna for just making sure that they feel comfortable with rocking it.
I like the Charlie's. He's inside baseball already, man. To keep with the baseball references, he's like, you got the marketing right, the timing of this, the promotional video. He's thinking like an owner.
Everything's vertical.
Thinking like an owner at all times.
Everything's vertical.
He's Verde, baby. He's Verde. We'll have to see what New Hampshire drops. If it's green, Charlie, we're gonna know you jacked their style.
It's not gonna be green.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Look, some other news.
What state is it? It's the.
I don't know.
The
It's New
Liberty
Hampshire,
State, and
The
I'll
what?
just leave it at that.
The
what?
granite.
The Granite State, New Hampshire.
Oh.
I'll leave it at that. Maybe they'll give you some hints. And
Okay.
you
He
can
said he
comment.
wasn't going to give us any hints, but now he's
give you
giving
a
it away. Producer Anders says we're wasting time. We could be talking about the playoffs. So let's go quick.
You guys should build a Braga-style stadium where it's quarried into the side of a mountain.
Exactly.
That's
Okay.
New Hampshire.
No, this whole show is we're going to take it over and just do the expansion.
This was the best
fake
show we did all year.
It
Was our
It-
fake expansion team?
it was the
Now
most
we've got
fun.
a guy who can do it.
Exactly. We can.
Pour
Perfect.
our ideas in.
Behind the scenes, we're consultants, all right, Charlie? Just hire us. Ken Griffey Jr. is an owner in MLS now. Speaking of owners for the Seattle Sounders, that's a perfect partnership. As a
Speaking of
lefty baseball player growing up, I idolized Griffey. I idolized his swing. I tried to emulate it. I'm not saying that I did, but he was as big an icon in the game of baseball as possible, and I am beyond excited to see him in Major League Soccer and with the club that I think just rightfully he should be associated with.
And for me personally, it's moved me way beyond that. Way beyond that. This is a person back then, a player who was my idol, who was my role model. I was tasked with having to buy cereal for my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I had to pay with food stamps, right? And so as a kid, buying groceries with food stamps is obviously not the most appealing thing, not the most gratifying thing to do. And you have this embarrassment. So you go home and you got to eat, cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Same thing. But what I always took from it is, I'd buy Wheaties, and I loved Wheaties because, you add some sugar and it's good. But more importantly, the box. I could stare at all of these role models that moved me, inspired me. And Ken Griffey Jr. was one of those players who was on the box. I don't know if it was 1 year. I feel like it felt like 1 year of just Ken Griffey Jr. I was staring at. And so the backwards hat, the way he hits the ball, that style, it's on the box. And I just looked at him. I'm like, this is greatness. He inspires me to be the best version of myself, what I can do. And so, when I look at Ken Griffey Jr. getting involved in soccer, it just, he's one of those players that I owe a great deal to, and I've never met him. He probably has never heard of me, yet he's moved me to become the person I am today. And
you ever play baseball, Charlie?
Yes. I didn't play as a kid. This is one of those.
It's one of the few things you're bad at, huh?
Yeah.
In pre-meeting, he was like, yeah, I just won a couple all New England titles in wrestling. I'd never wrestled before, but it was no big deal.
So in high school, I went to a prep school, and you're kind of forced to play 3 sports. And so soccer in the fall, tried out for basketball, wasn't good enough, but wrestling opened up. There's a varsity spot, so I wrestled for 4 years, and I'm so glad that.
Nah, don't go into the stuff you're good at. I want to know about how bad you were at baseball. Stop it.
This spring, I'm thinking, what can I do? What can I do? And I remembered, Ken Griffey Jr., baseball. Let me be a center fielder, and I'm going to be the leadoff hitter. Great. I'll get on base.
Run everything down.
Speed. I'll steal the bases, get home, and then in the outfield, I'm going to be awesome. No worries. I'm up to bat. First time, I'm looking down at the pitcher. He's a big guy. I think he was like 6'6", and I'm like, man, this guy's kind of big. He looks like Randy Johnson on the mound. And I'm watching him, and you do your warm-up swings, and he's just gunning them. But then there was a couple that like hit the dirt and like went a little wide. I'm like, he's a JV baseball player, not varsity. So that's probably because his location's a little off. So I'm up there, and I'm like,
you're quaking.
The whole time I'm like, oh, he's going to hit me. He is going to hit me. And every time I'm like swinging, but I'm also kind of dodge.
Yeah,
so then
you're the close your eyes and swing guy.
No, I became the bunter. I was just like, I'm gonna block this ball from hitting me. That was what I thought. So I would bunt. It was almost like I was just using it to just like bunt it down, prevent it from hitting me, and run to first base. So that was
What
was
did you
my
hit
experience.
that year? What was your average?
It was probably in 250. I want to say.
Hey, for that, that's not bad.
250 and up.
I think what was hilarious was me being in center field. if the ball went to right field or left field, it didn't matter. I was chasing it down. So I would run and catch the ball. The outfielder's like, I got it. And I'd come over and just, they're like, oh my God, you're supposed to just stay. And I'm like, hey, I just feel like you just go everywhere. You just catch it.
All right. You know what? We're going to wait for the Charlie Davies biography because he's going to have all the stories. All the stories. Chris Wondolowski deserves to be on a Wheaties box, at least in like our hearts and minds. TBD on whether he'll play next year. There's some news coming out that says he would like to. I'm also hearing that maybe that may not be completely accurate, so we'll wait and see on that. We won't push Chris into a box. He can do what he wants. He's earned that opportunity. Also, the DC coaching search goes on. Ezra Hendrickson is a candidate, so is Chris Armas. Gonzalo Pineda, who Dave is absolutely jacked about, has been pushing that one for months and months. Jill Ellis and maybe Chad Ashton. So we'll see what happens there, and I'm just saying, Atlanta United, you gonna have a rumor? You gonna have anything? Like, it's completely dead silent, guys.
Yeah.
So let us know.
All of these names with DC make sense. And I will say, I think the way everything worked out timing-wise for Chris Armas was unfortunate. In New York, to follow Jesse, to kind of try and change the style because you felt like you had to have the Red Bull Global above you. And I think this could be the right refresh for him to kind of like run a team the way he wants to. So it'd be interesting if it ends up being him.
About the cycle, right? You're just talking about same coaches getting recycled. And I
don't think that's true with Chris, though.
I beg to differ. And I think in this case, it's more about getting someone fresh, giving them an opportunity who hasn't had one. And so I think it's a perfect opportunity to really experiment and trial. If there's ever a time to do it, I think it's now.
I'm not sure that DC is that club, or at least they have not been that club. So we shall see on that one. Some breaking news right now. Sam Stachel just tweeted, per sources, LAFC's Brian Rodriguez, Seattle's Xavier Arriaga, and Orlando's Jegson Mendez will not play in the first round of the playoffs. They were not able to get back and be quarantined in time, I believe. I haven't read this piece. I'm just reading his tweet right now, so take it with that context. We also know, of course, that Diego Rossi was diagnosed with COVID, as was Jose Simfuentes and Diego Palacios for LAFC. So bad news from them. We'll cover them later. Let's jump right into the Friday night games. New England, Montreal at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1. Nashville, Miami on ESPN2 at 9 p.m. Eastern. Start with the Revs, Charlie. I am having a hard time with this game, Revs Impact. I'm not that jacked up about it, and I'm usually like at 11 when it comes to playoff times. Help me out a little bit. Like, sell me on this game, on the first game of the 2020 Audi MLS Cup Playoffs.
Well, from both sides, Thierry Henry getting an opportunity to get his team into the playoffs, which was a major accomplishment considering the players that he had at his disposal. Coming into Gillette, where it's the last time he played a professional match for New York Red Bulls in 2014 when he lost.
But what happened that time?
Los Spice.
And so, I just feel like it's fitting. He comes in as a coach now to try and get that win at Gillette Stadium, where he played one time and he lost. And then and he has Boyan, who has started to look more like himself, the Boyan that was successful in Europe. Kyoto has played at a high level. Can he get going? They have the attacking weapons. Defensively, that's where they've struggled. So if they can put in a performance where they really lock it down and they're able to counterattack and be creative in the attacking third, they have a chance. On the other side, the Revolution, finally, everyone's healthy. Everyone's fit. You had one player who's missing due to COVID, but outside of that, everyone is healthy, fit. Carlos Heel has talked about loving Boston, loving New England. Now this is a place where he thinks he could spend the rest of his career. That's encouraging because his contract's up after this year. You have Gustavo Bo, who also has missed a ton of time this year. Both players are game changers. They're match winners. You throw in the fact that Bruce Arena has had a successful career in the playoffs. Not too bad of a team to watch. Plus Matt Turner, who's a budding goalkeeper, who's playing at a really high level coming into the playoffs. This is a team, if they get going, can be scary in the playoffs.
What's interesting, let me add to this, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the first game in 4 months where teams can really prepare. This is going to be the first time we see the soccer that these coaches want to play and what it means when they can prepare for an opponent and what it means when they're healthy. Because I agree with Charlie. That's huge on the Rev side. Like, this is the first time Bruce is going to have time to work and the group that he wanted coming into the year. And then on the flip side for Montreal, you know your opponent. And we saw what Henry did in CCL. I think he had ideas of how can I affect the game, versus these teams with Saprissa and all that. So that, to me, this sets the tone sort of for the postseason. And I think it's going to be one of the higher quality soccer games we've seen in a while, even with the struggles Montreal's had. And that, to me, is so exciting to let's get started with this.
So you're saying it's a shift from, and I think I understand this, from week to week survival, especially from Montreal, who were just like, where the hell are we going to be? Are we going to go home and not be able to train? Are we going to be in New York City area around Red Bull Arena? What are we going to do? Where are we going to be? Are we going to see our families? What beds are we going to sleep in? What's the state of our roster? I mean, okay, that'll get me going, and especially on the Revs side, because the Revs have something, we just haven't seen it consistently this year, and that's my beef with this game. I'm like, I haven't seen anything consistently from either of these teams, so why do I believe coming to this game they're going to be able to do what you're saying, Dave, which is be sort of intentional, to be prepared, to be at a high level? But I guess that's what the playoffs is about. Be there or not. Be there and you move on, or not, deuces, go home.
And take this matchup and just look at, for Henry, how is he going to get Bojan into that space where the Revs struggled in defensive midfield? How is he going to find those gaps? And when the fullbacks go forward for the Revs, how does he get Broguillard into that space to set up Kyoto? And those are moments, and Charlie knows because he was in Stade Olympique. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Saputo?
Stade Olympique for the first week of the season 90 years ago when Broguillard played awesome because the Revs pushed Butner up, and that was the gaps that were available. Those are the things we haven't really seen over the last 3 months that I think now we're going to see in the postseason.
Can we talk about that 2014 game, though? Just real quick.
Yeah.
Somebody on this podcast they might name a New Hampshire USL team after him, scored 2 goals.
Yeah, you were there.
I was there. I had the November mustache, mustache going.
Yeah, I was in the crowd drinking.
Yeah. Okay. Epic day. 45,000 fans. I mean, it felt like an MLS Cup, that conference finals. I remember just the Crafts just being absolutely elated. I mean, it was a night.
It felt like the winning Champions League. That's what it felt like. I mean, you have the confetti. You both know my story. Having to overcome a great deal, and the uncertainty of my career and uncertainty of where I would end up and how I would make an impact. And so, just battling back to get to that point where I play a key role in getting the club that I supported as a kid into an MLS Cup. That was, sharing that moment with my wife and family, and just really being there on the field and taking it all in. That was a special moment in my career, in my life, that I'll always remember. And, Lee Wynn and Teal Bunbury, who are on that team, are still on the field now for the Revolution, which I think is pretty cool because
Andrew Farrell as well.
And Andrew Farrell and Scott Caldwell. And so they're going to be looking across at Thierry Henry like, hey, you remember that night?
I don't know if they're going to actually do that.
I've said this on the show a bunch, I think before Charlie joined, because I lived in Boston for 4 years. That was one of those nights, though, where when the Revs are good, they're relevant in that market. That stadium was jumping. It was Foxborough. It felt like an NFL game. It was a night game on I think it was Thanksgiving week. Everyone in the city knew that the game was going on. And after the game, we went back in the city and people were out and cared. That is what the Revs can be. They don't need a rebrand. They just need to be good for them to be relevant, which isn't always true in every MLS market. So this could be a start to that road for 2021.
You got to win championships to be relevant. In New England.
Oh my God.
New England is just all about bringing the trophies here, and you got to do it to be relevant. So you both, I mean, maybe it's tough for you guys to understand the excellence here.
Can we talk about who won the Super Bowl last year? I'm just curious. I don't know. Maybe you could remind me, Charlie. Anyway, I'm going to take that quote, and every time you talk about your New Hampshire team, I'm going to throw that back at you. I'm like, what are you in the standings?
Show me the ring.
Yeah, ring culture. All right, ring culture. Give me a prediction. Quick prediction. Anybody going with the upset for Montreal? I'm taking the Revs.
You'd be
just nuts. Think at home. Take the Revs.
You'd be nuts to pick the upset.
Agreed.
Okay, move on. Nashville, Miami is the late game on this night. The first of the Audi 2020 MLS Cup Playoffs, 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. I love the matchup. I've said for about a month now, this is what I wanted to see because it's got the storylines, it's got the expansion bowl aspect of it, and it's got two teams that have something to prove in different ways. Nashville are still trying to tell people and prove to people that they are better than we thought they would be, that they are a team that was counted out and shouldn't have been, that they are a team that does more than sometimes we've said on this show, which is play mostly exclusively defensive soccer. Mike Jacobs talking to the GM, talking to The Athletic, Jeff Ruder had a nice interview with him, said there are lazy narratives around Nashville SC. Do we think there are lazy narratives around Nashville SC? And what's the narrative with this team going into their first ever playoff game?
The narrative is they built themselves on MLS experience, and they built themselves on being solid defensively, and they don't have a ton of ambition going forward. Now, I think, to Mike Jacobs' point, as the season's gone along, especially the last 5-6 weeks, there have been games where they have pushed the attack. There have been games where they've been more aggressive. Now, I would argue a lot of those games are game states where they've been losing early or late in the game, they need to push for opportunities. And with Yonder Cadiz, they're more dangerous now in those moments. But I don't believe this is not what we want to do. It just happened. This is a team that built themselves on their back line. They have a coach who won MLS Cup in a defensive style. He came on the show last year and said, no, we're not going to play that way. We're not going to play the way my teams have always played my entire life. And now they do. So none of that is by coincidence. And also it's fine because you look at the bracket and Nashville will be in every game they play in the postseason, whether they win or lose. They will not get blown out. They will not look like they don't belong. And in year one, in this year in MLS, that's fine. There's no reason to complain about that.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. The other thing I would say is that I thought Joe Willis said it best when he was on this show. Like, the man literally plays for your team. He's like, there are a lot of games where we go and we want to be more, and it just doesn't come off. Like, that's okay too. You can have that ambition and then fall back on what it is that has made you successful. Maybe not spectacular, but successful this year, which is defending as a group, having two really solid guys in central midfield that can cover and pass in different ways in Dax and Anibal Godoy. Like, I don't know what this lazy narrative is. Like, I feel like the narrative has always been they don't have attacking power, and then they went out and proved it. They have 10 goals from open play in 23 games. Like, that's okay. You're a team that scores on set pieces that are dangerous in those moments that don't make stupid mistakes. There are a lot of teams that make stupid mistakes. Like, just be the team that doesn't shoot yourself in the foot repeatedly and gives yourself a chance to win. And in year one, when nobody said you were going to be any good, well, that's pretty darn good. I also think, and I don't know if I've said this on the show, but I've thought it for a long time, that maybe if this was a normal season, this might not have worked quite as well as it did. Because other teams would be in more of a rhythm from an attacking sense and more sort of cohesive. And it's easier for Nashville in this moment to play this style sometimes, not always, and win with it than it would be if they were playing the entirety of the league as opposed to the little sort of bubble that every team has because of the scheduling and having to take on teams that that have rhythm, that get 2 games a week or 1 game a week and 5 days of training and no worry about, COVID or their families or society. Like,
they just played FC Dallas 14 times.
Well, not every team can be Barcelona. Not every team can be Manchester City or Liverpool. So I don't mind that they take a defensive approach because that's who they are. That's kind of like, when you look at culture from within the club, but also on the pitch, Nashville is a club that's like, we're gonna duke it out. We're gonna fight. We're gonna defend. We're gonna be really tough to play against, no matter if we're at home or on the road. We're gonna be difficult. They don't have those creative match winners that you're going to get on a lot of they don't have a Carlos Vela. They don't have that. But what they do have is heart. And I respect it. Is it the most attractive style? No, and I've said that multiple times. I don't really enjoy watching Nashville play because they don't have those guys who are really going to change the game and be really an attacking team that's always on the front foot. But what they do have, you respect.
They're competitive.
And you can
first and foremost.
And if Mike Jacobs were to say, listen, we didn't see the best of Hani Mukhtar and we didn't see the best of Rendell Leal. It takes attacking players a year in this league to fit in, and you throw in 2020 and an expansion team. That's fine. And if they're better next year, I won't be surprised. And now you're looking at a team that has that attacking creative force. And maybe with Cadiz as a legit center forward up top, it's a different style. But that's not what's happening this year. So you can't say, well, you're wrong about the narrative of the team. We might be wrong about the future, and that's great because that will be exciting to watch going forward. But to Charlie's point, if you're going to do those things, just be the best at it. And just accept that, and you'll be competitive and you'll be good. Now, if you get a crowd in the stadium, do they want to come and watch a team that locks it down and scores off a set piece and wins 1-0 in the 80th minute? I don't know. And I don't think there's a clear answer to that because I don't think every market's the same, and I don't think every group's the same. If they win, and that's unique in Nashville, or people don't care, they just want to come and be a part of that atmosphere, then that's great. And that doesn't matter. You just have to have a pulse to that.
I thought it was all about this. I thought this was the plan, honestly. And so I don't know why the pushback on the narrative, because I thought the plan was be competitive, be solid defensively, don't give up stupid goals, and get them wherever you can, and you'll be in the playoffs and figure it out. That's exactly where they are.
Favorites. In their first ever playoff game in year one, they are favorites going into their first postseason game. That's as much as you can ask for.
And I think if they lose, they can still look at this season and be like, hell of a year. So much to build on. Like you said, our DPs haven't hit. And that's sort of the not underreported, but we talk a lot about the trades they made. You know, Walker and Dax and Anibal and Lovitz and Willis and all these different guys. They hit on basically every MLS trade they made, but their DPs, frankly, haven't hit. And maybe that's, like you said, a next year thing. Maybe that's a settling thing. Maybe that's a style of play thing to get results. I don't know, but that's the next step for Nashville SC. On the flip side, Inter Miami spent all the money. Their DPs have sort of hit. Their DPs certainly have name value. But for Miami, this feels like an opportunity, and we were talking about it in the first meeting, like, what's at stake for Miami? Their season has been disappointing, period. Regular season, disappointing. Not what we expected, not what they wanted, didn't have fans in the stadium, couldn't build the culture to the level that they would have liked to, though you see that supporter section now, and it's kind of insane. But this is an opportunity. Let's say they win. Let's say the 10 seed wins in Nashville, and then they're moving on. They get the Supporter Shield winner. Let's say they go to Philly, and out of nowhere, Gonzalo Higuain gets to flip the script and look back at the Union players and be like, remember that PK? How you like me now? You know, that's how I live. I love that stuff. Then all of a sudden, everything has changed for them. Like, they have so much to gain, and it comes off the back of disappointment, and that's just, I guess, 2020 in a nutshell for Inter Miami.
My worry about this matchup is my question marks around Miami was true creativity. Pizarro is not a true creative player.
Individual.
What? Individually.
Yeah, he's an individual.
Right. And he's a connector. He wants the game to move. He wants to be an option. And Matuidi's the same. And Higuain is a finisher. And we talked about it when he came, and I think we've seen it a little. Gonzalo Higuain is so good at soccer. His IQ is so high. His technique is so high. He will create chances in MLS because he's at that level. That's what we saw from Rooney. That's what we saw from Henry. But this matchup is Nashville's going to sit in a low block, break us down. And that's not where I see the comfort level for Miami. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if they're would be more confident against Philly in the next round.
Here it is. Federico Higuain comes in and changes the game from Inter Miami to play.
Mr. Davies.
I hate to do it. But imagine him playing a pivotal role in the playoffs, being that creator. You talk about breaking down a low block, and this is two buses when you talk about Nashville. You need someone who can play those balls in behind, the ones who can whip them in and play a very varying balls. That's Higuain. You talk about restart, set pieces. Higuain being the creator, getting on the ball. He couldn't do it at DC United because of the way they played. And he still was able to make an impact coming off the bench. Imagine now you throw in Matuidi, you throw in his brother, you throw in these players who can really
say his name, say Lewis Morgan's name, because he is the most underrated. He's going to be, if they make a run, the most rated player in MLS.
But this isn't his game. He's good in the open field. He's a freak athlete.
If it's tight,
he's an okay finisher.
That comes down to game states again. This is where Miami, they need that early goal. Because that draws Nashville out and that opens up to who they want to be.
Goal. Yes.
They need that early goal. And I think actually
or on the flip side, you keep it tight the whole game and then Pipa comes off the bench and wins it at 38 years old.
Who you got here? Who's moving on? Home team, away team?
I have Nashville as well.
Yeah. I have Nashville too. So don't tell us we don't believe in you, Nashville SC. We believe in you. Straight sweep here.
They like that. They like the feed off the, no one thinks we're good. We don't play attractive soccer.
Minnesota East, baby.
Minnesota East.
Yeah, barely east, more like, kind of southeast. All right, let's get to the games over the weekend. Saturday is going to be your Eastern Conference side with Orlando NYCFC and Columbus Red Bulls. Those games are in the afternoon, noon and 3 p.m. Eastern. Of course, extra time, the post-game show right after. We've got Daryl Dike. Let's chat with him. Time now for an AT&T 5G call to the field. We're going to Orlando. We're going to Daryl Dike. And Daryl, I want to start with this, man. Congratulations. You may not know this. It may not have been passed on to you, but you are the Continental Award Extra Times First-Year College Player of the Year. They killed Rookie of the Year, but they couldn't kill our desire to give you an award, man. So congratulations.
We gave you a fake award, Daryl. You earned it.
Oh, word? I know. Thank you. That's hype. That's hype.
You know what's even better? You get a free set, you need 4, of Continental tires for this deal. So we're going to send you some. I hope you have a car in Orlando. Do you have a car?
I do have a car.
Perfect.
Boom. You just got
free tires. Free tires for you. And we're going to send you a trophy. So you can add that to your very expansive trophy case. It's kind of cheap and plastic, but we'll expect you to cherish that for life. So congratulations, man.
So Daryl,
This
this is called bribing. So now you have to give us the best interview of all time because we started you off with a free set of tires. Fair?
All right, sounds good. My Toyota Camry will be happy.
Yes. Let's go. And the bump. I just wanted to tell you, coming on here early, that this is probably one of the only shows in which Bright DK gets mentioned as often as he does. There's a lot of fandom for him on ETR. We all know about your sister as well. So the opening question has to be, who is the best soccer player in your family?
Best soccer player in my family. I don't know. Me and my brother like to argue all the time and just kind of like joke around, but I think he might have me beat right now. But I think maybe later I'll surpass him.
You're waiting for the moment. Can I just say that
waiting for the moment.
February 2014 will always be a very painful moment in soccer history. We wanted to see your brother at the World Cup. Your sister was at the U20 World Cup that year. Tell me about the year 2014 in your life and your family's life.
It was obviously like hard and like good period because my sister got her time, so it was obviously phenomenal for our family and everybody in Oklahoma and even people in Nigeria and just people around the country. So it was great for us. And then it was also a little bit unfortunate, for my brother because of like his injury. We all thought that he was potentially going to go to the World Cup, and then he had an unfortunate injury that kind of didn't allow him to go. Ultimately, I think we're all past that now, and he's moved on, of course, and then luckily my sister still was able to start playing as well. So it was good. It was a good and bad year.
Take us through, though, a little bit growing up first-generation Nigerian in the U.S. and the connection to the culture, to the country. Of course, now, like talking about it, both your siblings, representing them internationally. What is that bond like?
No, I think it's a big bond because obviously my parents lived in Nigeria for their entire life, and I think our family, kind of have a big bond, a big relationship, big bond with Nigeria. I think it's part of the whole culture has kind of been embedded on all of me and my siblings, and it's kind of it's something that's just obviously like a big part of our identity. We all go back to Nigeria every few years, and we go see all our family because majority of our family is still in Nigeria. And then when it comes to like playing with like the national team and stuff like that, like obviously my brother and my sister, they loved it. And then all of our relatives back home and everybody, would always, text us and celebrate it. So no, it's a good connection, good bond, because it's kind of shaped my life.
Tell me what it was like growing up in your family when it comes to soccer. Because if people that listen to this podcast know I got 2 young boys, I'm trying to raise them in the game. If we can have a modicum of the success, a modicum that the DKs have had, we will be seriously overshooting our potential. How do 3 professional soccer players of a high level come out of the same family?
I think it's just kind of. I think it all starts from my parents. My parents obviously, soccer is it's the biggest sport in Nigeria, so they've kind of grown up on soccer. Watching the game. They never played professionally, but they both, played a lot when they were older, and then even when they were younger, like they played a lot, and they know the game. And I think that's kind of something that's kind of put on us since we were at a young age that our family loves soccer. So you walk into the living room, you will go and you'll see like Manchester United, Chelsea. You'll see some soccer game almost always on. You'll see my parents have random pictures of soccer players and stuff like that around the house. I mean, when I was younger, I mean, I had my brothers, trophies, medals, my sister's trophies, medals, and the other sisters, because they did stuff like around the house. So you just kind of you always kind of see that soccer's just kind of always around you. And then, also like in addition to that, I mean, just in terms of like my brother and my sister playing, like I would always go to their games when I was younger. We'd always talk soccer. We always talk everything. We have arguments because I'm a Chelsea fan and my parents and everybody else are Arsenal fans. So, I mean, like, no, it's just good. It's a good environment. I mean, I think the main thing is just kind of soccer has just always been around us. And in terms of succeeding and even playing the game, I think my parents have kind of always talked about this whole work ethic thing with absolutely everything we do, whether it be school, whether it be soccer, just kind of keep working and working and working to be like, the top, the best in everything that you do.
How did your brother and sister treat you when let's say you're playing in the backyard? Because my younger brother's 6 years younger, and I worked him over. My dad was like, play some daddy ball, take it easy on him. I'm like, no, this kid must learn. And Bright, if I'm not mistaken, is like 12 years older than you. He's like running circles around you. Or did he take you under the wing and help you out?
Nah, I mean, he didn't have any mercy. I just remember, like, obviously he's much faster, much bigger than me. Like when we were both younger, and I would just be running around the yard. He'd be sitting there just dribbling around me, like juggling the ball over my head and stuff like that. Or like when we'd sometimes we'd go to like a complex, like a soccer complex, like right next to my house, and I'd be shooting on him. And obviously, when I was younger, I had no power in my shots. I couldn't do anything. And he'd go and goal, and he's like one hand stopping him and everything like that. So, no, in terms of that, and then same with my sister as well. Like, I mean, both of them just, they just mess around. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed just running around. And like anytime I could, spend time with them or playing with them, I meant the world to me, regardless of if I was getting smacked or if I was actually scoring a goal. So
hey, that's proper big brother behavior, man. Nothing free. Nothing free for the Young Bucks. We'll get to the international side of your game here in a little bit, but we do want to talk about Orlando City and this year. It was interesting because we saw you drafted to Orlando 5th, and you were such a hype prospect in the Super Draft, but then we had to wait until the round of 16 in MLS is back to see you make your debut, and I'm sure that wait was difficult for you too. It took till August 22nd before you started a game, and then we know what's happened since then. 8 goals, 4 assists. Was it frustrating to wait that long? What was that process like? How was Oscar communicating with you through that period?
No, I mean, I think, obviously, like, everybody wants to play, everybody wants to go out there and try and make a difference. But at the same time, I think my mindset was, I knew coming into like the year, like my first season and everything, I knew it was going to be difficult to get minutes. I mean, there's obviously tons of phenomenal players in the MLS, so I knew that coming in and instantly getting minutes and instantly playing, I wasn't actually going to go and it would have been very difficult to just kind of step in right into the field. I knew I was going to have to work for it, and I think that's one thing that the coaches and like all the players did a very good job. Is they kind of they kind of pushed me. They definitely pushed me to kind of work harder and make sure that I was even ready for the moment to make a change when I got the chance. And I think that's honestly it might have been for the better. I think the coaches, as I said before, coaches and players, they kind of always had given me like little tips about, here, when you get into the game, do this, or, mindset things. And it just gave me tons and tons and tons of little things that because I knew from if I just kept working and I did everything in my power to play, that my time would come. It was just kind of a thought of how ready would I be when that time came. And, the coaches and the players, I mean, I think they, well equipped me and, set me up for a good beginning.
So I wanted to ask you, one of the things we on this show talk about a lot is the now youth development path and the MLS academies. We did 2020, 22 list, and the bulk of them come through academies. You were in a city that didn't have an MLS team. You played a little, I know, USL, PDL, and then you go to college for a year. This process for you, because we've heard so much about the new pathway that's been built, what was your thought process? What was the experience through high school? Did you think about signing a USL contract? Did you trial in Europe? Did you want to go to college? Did you want to stay longer? How did this whole thing work out?
Yeah, so I mean, it's actually like it's kind of a funny story. So I think obviously when you're younger, especially in Oklahoma, there's no academy. So the only academies near us are Sporting Kansas or there was Sporting Kansas, there's FC Dallas, and there's Houston Dynamo. So like those were the only academies. And my parents, they've always been like big into education and big into, school before soccer. So one of the things that they kind of told me is like school, to make sure that I had like, as I said, school before soccer. So they felt that if I went to one of these academies, that I was fortunate enough to, Oklahoma, to go to a really, really, really good school. So, they kind of thought that I probably wouldn't get the same education if I went to one of these other schools. And I think it's, especially like being a person who's not in the academy or anything, it's a little bit hard, like mentally, I think, because, you see all these kids in the U15 national team, U16, 17, 18, 19, like you see all these kids and all of them are in, DAs, all of them are in academies. And, looking at it from the outside, you're like, wow, like, am I ever going to, am I going to be able to make it because I'm not in academy? Am I going to be able to, succeed, in college and then, go on professionally if I didn't have the training from the academy? Luckily, I think I've had phenomenal coaches when I was in Oklahoma. But I mean, from the mindset, it's I guess you can say like you're a little bit envious. You're a little bit jealous of the players who have kind of had the opportunity to, play at the academies and play with MLS teams and be with these under 20 camps and stuff like that. And, sometimes it's a little bit, you get a little bit down on yourself, I guess is the word.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you just kind of think about it and you're like, everybody has their own different path. Everybody, there's not just one path to becoming a professional. And I think that's kind of one thing that I kind of worked on is I kind of made sure what can I do in my power to go and, put myself in the best position.
You're in a decent position now, man. We hear Greg Berhalter saying your name, getting some acclaim. Of course, you've won our officially unofficial, quote-unquote, Rookie of the Year, whatever we're calling it this year. When did it click for you? When did you feel like, oh, okay, things feel, I'm not going to say easy, but it feels like things are coming off. I feel confident.
Yeah, I think obviously as a young player, confidence is one of the main things. And I think, luckily I was fortunate to, have teammates around me that, made my job a lot easier than like a lot of other people might be with on other teams. So I think in terms of, confidence, as you get a few passes off or, you hold the ball up a few times, or obviously you score a few goals, your confidence kind of keeps flowing and you get a little bit out of your comfort zone. You start trying different things and, you also have like, good coaching and, the players, and you add all of that together and, it just kind of pushes you to keep going, keep doing anything in your power to help the team succeed. So I think that's honestly probably like one of the main things.
We want to keep pushing you, so we're going to ask you the tough questions here. You said you have teammates that make your job easier, but who makes it the easiest? Nani, Mauricio, Chris Mueller, who do you have the best connection with? Who's your best setup man?
Best connection with, that's a hard one because I mean, obviously like, I got really good teammates. Everybody around me is super phenomenal. So I'm being honest. I don't think there's a specific one person, but I mean, I think everybody collectively, makes my job easier. It's, I don't know. I couldn't give you one answer. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's professional. You worked your way out of that question. Respect.
Yeah, you did. You got out of the pressure. We try to surround you with it. That's the way it goes.
Laid the ball off. Let's restart the attack.
Okay, so let's take it to this. Who have you tried to model your game after? Like if you're a Chelsea fan, you say, is there someone through your time watching?
Which, by the way, I take as direct disrespect to Kanu that you're not an Arsenal fan because I assume that's where everyone else got their Arsenal fandom. But continue.
Who do you model it after? Who do you look at and say, man, I need to try to pick these pieces out? Whether it's somebody that you watched in the past or somebody you watch now or somebody in the league?
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, my favorite player was Drogba because, I mean, I was a big Chelsea fan also as well. But I think today, person I model, and I guess it's kind of boring, but it's Lukaku because, I mean, I think him and I, our size and, kind of how we play is pretty similar. And so he's someone that I kind of model and I kind of look at and I'm like, okay, I think I can maybe do things like him and, I kind of work my way like that.
What do you think the strengths of your game are? I know what I think, but I want to know what you think.
I think my strength of the game, I mean, obviously like my size and like athleticism, but I think in terms of there's some other things I like to bring. I like to make sure that I'm working like as hard as I can for the other team, like the people around me. I think that's one thing that I try and I tell Nani and I tell Mauricio and Chris, like all the people in front of me, like I tell them my job is to make your job easy. Like when the ball comes into me, like you can trust that I'm going to fight for the ball. I'm gonna hold the ball and I'm gonna give the ball to you, and then you go and do your thing. And I'll be in the box. If the ball goes in the box, and hopefully I'll be there to help you out and finish that. But no, I think those are like the main things I do. I think also in terms of thinking is something that that's something that I've worked on as well, with the coaches and like the players. I mean, they kind of have gotten to me to, think more during my game rather than just kind of working everything being athleticism and holding the ball and being a big body and doing all these things that kind of, gotten me to like, how do I run? How do I move? Like, how am I pressing this defender and stuff like that? So I think the brain is another thing that I think I've gotten much better at.
Love to see your development. Love to see Orlando City in a new place in their history, competing for cups. You almost got it done in MLS's back. You have another opportunity starting with the Audi MLS Cup Playoffs this weekend. NYCFC, the opponent. Is this team MLS Cup ready? How do you talk about these playoffs? How do you talk about the potential of winning a trophy inside the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, I think we, from the beginning of the year, I mean, we know like the history with Orlando City, and people say like, oh, like they've never made the playoffs, they've never done this, they've never done that. And we kind of told ourselves, we looked around at our team in the preseason, we were like, guys, like we have a phenomenal team. We kind of set the expectation, we set our goals, higher than just making playoffs. I mean, at the beginning of the year, we kind of said like, we're not just shooting to go to playoffs. We're shooting to be one of the top teams in the league. We're shooting to be one of the top teams at the table, win Supporters Shield and then, win MLS Cup. And I think that's kind of been one of the main goals, one of the main things that we've kind of thought of at the beginning. And the mindset in the locker room is that, we can do this. We finished fourth on our side of the conference, but at the same time, we understand like, there's been sometimes the ball may not have bounced our way and, results could have completely changed. And I think that's kind of the one thing is that we don't, put our heads down and we keep going because we know what we're capable of.
We're looking forward to the playoffs. It's going to be an awesome matchup as Andrew just drops out on us real quick. But I wanted to ask, that's your team goals, personal goals for you. You're still young. But we've heard from the U.S. national team that they're interested. Obviously, the Super Eagles know a whole lot about you and your family. What is your thought process in terms of that next step, international soccer, and what you want to do?
I think, when you're younger, you always dream about playing international. You always dream about, playing with the country, playing World Cup, playing in all these competitions. And, yeah, I mean, obviously my brother and sister, played with Nigeria and, now, potentially in the near future, I might have a chance of playing with the national team. But at the same time, I don't think I don't think too much into that. I kind of work and I train every single day and I do my hardest when it comes to, playing on the international stage. When that moment comes, and then, that's kind of when I guess I'll have to think about it a little bit more. But, right now I just kind of focus on what I'm doing with Orlando, and then, I'll go to whichever national team and stuff like that.
So both are open. We like to hear that. Has Greg talked to you at all? Have you heard from Greg Berhalter, whether directly or through other people, maybe through Oscar?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. We'll talk to Greg next week.
We're reaching out for him.
We're talking to Greg next week, and we are going to press Greg. We'll be like, Greg, we need Daryl in this team. All right, man. Good luck in the playoffs. We know you have training coming up, so we'll be watching you, and we'll be enjoying the game and watching you develop, man.
All right, sweet. Thank you so much.
So what'd you guys take away from that Daryl Dike interview?
I am a Daryl Dike fan. That is for starters. At 19, he speaks better than any of us who do this professionally, and was awesome and was genuine and true. His answer about not coming through an academy and being envious about other kids getting youth national team call-ups. And I think I've talked about this with you, Charlie. Like, when you're that guy, you think you're the best. Other guys just get that link to the national team at a young age, and you're waiting. And then he went to college and came into Super Draft at a time when it's not so popular. And he seems to completely understand where he's at and who he needs to be. So fingers crossed, Greg, give him a call. Yeah. I want this kid on the
It feels like the attitude is exactly right. Like confidence, but not overstated in the sense where he thinks, I deserve this. Like, hey, I'm a fifth pick. Put me in the lineup. Why am I not playing? He's like, yeah, I waited around. I got the opportunity when I did because I worked hard and my teammates helped me out. Mm-hmm. And yeah, things are going well for me. So how do we get him in the national team, Charlie? Is he coming in December? Can we get him in?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Watching Daryl Dike in college soccer last year and calling his games, I thought he does have a lot of intangibles as far as like the hold-up play, good runs, not lightning quick. He doesn't have that breakaway pace. He has, I guess, sufficient pace in the professional game. But I was always concerned with his finishing, his different style of finishing. He did score those goals closer to the net, but were his runs hard enough in the box? Was he, taking an inch of space to create his own shot? Some of those things that you need to work on as a striker and develop. And everyone develops at a different age. I remember being a kid too and wanted to go to residency That was the dream. Everyone wants to be a part of that residency so you can go to U17 World Cup and then go to college a year earlier. Like, I was always envious of that, but I didn't develop until I was a junior in high school and physically and matured physically. And then senior year, that's when I really took off, and I got called into the U18 national team camp after the 17s already played in that World Cup. So everyone develops at a different age. And I think it was beneficial for Daryl Dike to go to college and learn under George Galnavach, which he did. And George Galnavach has developed a number of youth national team players and a number of players who have made it professionally. So I think he benefited from that year. And then you talk about the transition with Oscar Pereira. And when I watch him now, I'm like, yeah, this kid's got it. And he's impressed Greg Berhalter. He's going to get an opportunity. That's a fact. You look across strikers in Major League Soccer, even strikers, American strikers, there aren't too many that come to name when you say, that's a lock. We're still talking about Josie Altidore. And I felt like I played with Josie Altidore in the 90s. That's what and he's been around for that long, right? Because no one has stepped up. No one. There aren't a number of players that you're like, wow, this is a deep position, because it's outside of left fullback. Yeah. There aren't too many players in that striker center forward position that you can count on and depend on at the international level. So with Greg Berhalter, he's given 29 debuts since he's been the U.S. men's national team manager in his first 21 matches. So that's the most all time. Now we're going to make it 30. We're going to make it 30 because Daryl Dike has earned it. He's deserved it. And once you get a taste of that international level, that stage, that's when you're like, I'm going to commit myself to getting this quality competition every time a camp comes along.
I like that we're just sort of seeing him scratch the surface. Mm-hmm. Like the rate of improvement is something that I like to watch, and it feels like it's been a big jump. So then you wonder, what other jumps are coming for him? And he feels like a complete forward to me, a center forward to me, where he can play in a lot of different ways, and he makes the players around him better. And we've seen that with his teammates. And I think in the national team setup, you would see that with the quality of players around him. All right, let's talk about Orlando NYCFC, part of the doubleheader on Unimas on Saturday, noon Eastern. Orlando hosts first ever playoff game. What's this matchup like for the Lions, Dave? What do you think?
I think I understand the glitz around LAFC Seattle. I think this is the best first round game. These two teams are deep. These two teams have talent. They can win games in different ways. I'm fascinated to see, what does Orlando do in this game? Do they come out and say, first playoff game at home, let's press New York out of this and let's win it in 15 minutes? Do they come out and sit in a low block and say, no Hebert, question marks on the wing now, goal scoring a question if Tati Castellanos isn't hitting, which he can at an MLS Player of the Month level? And also, you look last year, a home game against Toronto, and this team couldn't find a way to get a victory in one that they should have won. So I think there's question marks for NYCFC, which makes it fascinating. What does Oscar Pereira want to do in this game? And there were question marks at the end at Dallas. In postseason games, Dallas kind of kept hitting the head against the wall and couldn't find ways
you're
to break
Oscar
through.
Pereira deep right now.
I'm just saying, this is a test for him, and I thought he proved a lot in the MLS's back tournament already off the bat, and he's got match winners, which he didn't have in Dallas, but that's what makes this game fascinating to me.
I think that is the difference. In Dallas, it seemed like a lot of the time it was one guy that you were uber reliant on. Like, that was Mauro Diaz, if we're being honest, or that was Fabian Castillo. I think this crop of attacking players, and Mauricio Pereira, who does not get enough hype for his level of chance creation, his class, his ability to play in two ways. I think both when you're packed in front of him and when you have open space, he's really, really lethal. Nani, Mueller, Dike, I mean, they have all the pieces.
But then you look at it, Nani versus Dinnerholm.
I know.
Alex Ring and Keaton Parks and Maxi Morales clogging up that middle. Like, where are the openings? And that's what makes this game great.
Yes, and you look at New York City FC and what Ronnie Dyla has done. It's been up and down. It hasn't been consistent. Although they finished the season red hot. And we all know
Four straight wins.
We all know coming into the playoffs, feeling in a good rhythm, feeling in a good mood, heading in the right direction, usually spells success. Although this playoffs is different because you throw in the break, which has allowed teams to recover, for guys to get back to 100%, for teams to have that 2 weeks of training, which they haven't had all year, right? Preparing for this match. Guys are fit, in a rhythm. This could benefit Orlando, or it could benefit New York City FC. And we, like Gus said, Tati Castellanos, I think he's the key. Is he going to be that finisher that New York City needs him to be? If he is, I have New York City going through, which I do. because I do feel that with Max Morales, with Alex Ring, with that back four and Sean Johnson, who are in sync, who have played enough matches together to be all on the same page, because you need to be dealing with Chris Mueller, Nani, and now Daryl Dike. I do believe that they're going to get over the hump and win this match.
One thing to point out, James Sands obviously out for the playoffs. Alex Cayens was with Peru. We haven't heard anything from him. He didn't play, but we still don't know about everyone coming back, how long they'll be out, whether they'll be available. If Cayens is out, that changes that back line. It changes that dynamic.
Yeah, I think
and then I'm going, if he's not playing, straight Orlando City.
Cover the bases.
Yeah. Charlie's putting the bet in at 11:35 the moment that lineup comes out.
So my heart is with 100% with Orlando. There's no doubt about it. It's with Poppy. It's with Mueller. It's with our new favorite, Daryl Dike. It's with Nani and his purple hair. But I do wonder about the pressure on both teams, because I think both of these teams have real pressure in different ways. Orlando, because it's their first time and they came so close and MLS is back. NYCFC, because they've been there repeatedly, and just haven't shown up, to be perfectly honest with you. I have Orlando going on, but I would be shocked in no way if NYC wins this, because of the strength of that midfield and because I think they just have a little bit more institutional knowledge in these moments. We shall see on that one. Who you got, Dave? Give me a quick pick.
I've got Orlando. I actually went pretty much chalk in the Eastern Conference. But I will say, talking about this, I am extremely jacked up about the playoffs. We are getting, 9 games this weekend just thrown in your face, each one by itself. So we get to watch 8 games. Did I get that number wrong? 2, 3,
7 games. I believe 7 games and then 3 on Tuesday.
You get to watch, you get to lock in. These teams are ready. They're healthy. This is going to be the best soccer we've seen all year.
I agree. Columbus Red Bulls. Let's talk about this matchup. You remember back to 2015? It was a classic series. Back in those days, things have changed. Berhalter was the coach of the Crew at the time. Of course, Jesse Marsch was with the Red Bulls. Look what they're doing now. Caleb Porter came on this show from Orlando, from the bubble, and said, yeah, look, MLS's back is important to us, but only as a means to an end. And the means is to be firing, be popping when the time comes that we're going to win MLS Cup. He's got one in his trophy case personally with the Timbers. That was 2015, to connect it right back. Does he have a chance to do it again? Because this team was one of the best, if not the best teams in Major League Soccer until, I want to say, late-ish September.
Down. Yeah. As soon as you lose your 2 best players in Zelarayan and Nagbe, the wheels fall off the bus. Mm-hmm. So now that they're healthy and you're now starting to see them, get a full 2 weeks together, you would expect to see the best of Columbus Crew in this match. And New York Red Bulls, on the other hand, they're just playing with heart at the moment. They're just coming together. They're making the most of what they have, but this isn't a team that scares you. If you're the Columbus Crew, you're like, we're far better than the New York Red Bulls, but just because you're better than them doesn't mean you win the game. You have to come in and commit yourselves. Red Bulls are going to play hard. They're going to bring the intensity. They're going to try and disrupt Columbus Crew. They're going to try and rough up Zelarayan and Nagbe, take advantage of the set pieces and the restarts. It's all going to be on Columbus Crew. Do they dictate the tempo of the game? Do they make Red Bulls just chase the match? If they're able to do that and let Nagbe and Zelarayan kind of basically be the orchestras in the midfield, Columbus Crew runs away with this game.
And I would say, Charlie, every time this year, Nagbe barely ever gets hurt in his whole career. Every time Zelarayan's gotten hurt, he hits the ground running the moment he comes back. It's not I haven't seen him play in a while, and obviously he came back the last week of the season. I don't know where he's at. I feel like I can confidently say we're going to get the performance from him and Nagbe that you want to see coming into this game. And if they can do that, they're going to win this game. But the Red Bulls have nothing to lose, and they're fun to watch. And I think this game is a chance to show who we are going to be for 2021. Drew Yearwood gets the start in central midfield. The young fullbacks, Jared Stroud's getting minutes. The college, former college strikers up top. Does Caden Clark get minutes? I think this is a chance for the Red Bulls to just set the tone, reset it with their fans, and say, this is what we can look like going forward, and get excited about it.
Gerhard Struber, by the way, is here. Yeah. The head coach of the Red Bulls for 2021, who we just haven't talked about at all.
2 hours before the game for me.
Yeah, it's been like a year like that for the Red Bulls. Saying that is so bizarre because we announced him, we talked about him, and then it was just gone. We're going to try to get him on the show. I feel like this is just, can the Crew pull that press around? When the Red Bulls decide to press, can the Crew possess and move the ball quickly in a way that we know that is sort of the calling card of Darlington Nagbe and Artur and Zelarayan, and then get it to the wingers and get into positions that provide good service for Nagbe. And if not, cut it back to Zelarayan, who's an absolute assassin. As you said, Charlie, they are better. They're a better team.
They can play through it, and if they play over it to Zardes, one, he's dangerous by himself, and if Diaz gets the start to stretch the field alongside him, if you play over that press, you can get into 2v2 situations, which is where New York's struggled this year. Long has not been as good as an individual defender in open space, and Parker has struggled because Long has struggled. So that's your chance for Columbus, where they're good enough to play through it, but if they don't, they have the ability to stretch the field.
What's the opening for the Red Bulls to pull the upset? Is it just individual errors? I think that's what I wrote when I did the why they will, why they won't win MLS Cup for the crew.
Yeah, they went ahead against Toronto. They beat Toronto FC in the final week of the season because they pressed high. Velo creates chances, and Yearwood covers a ton of ground around him. And if they finish those opportunities, there will be chances there. Columbus will play out of the back. They've done it all year. They're going to do it again. There will be chances. If New York can take the lead, now Columbus gets tight, and New York has nothing to lose. And I think they continue to physically challenge Columbus because they're so aggressive on each duel. And that's your avenue to the win.
All right, we'll see what happens in that one. You got predictions for me? I got Columbus. I basically went chalk.
Yeah. Charlie?
Chalk.
All right, chalk on that one.
Columbus
remember
crew.
the Audi 2020 MLS Cup Playoffs Bracket Challenge. Get yours in. I believe you can do that all the way up until Saturday's games because the play-in games are not a part of that.
Yeah, Charlie's waiting.
Head over to MLSsoccer.com. Yeah, he's got to see the lineups. Who's healthy? Who's getting off the charter plane? What's going on in that one?
Charlie's trying to get every advantage. That's how you get to the top.
All right, before we get to the mailbag, MLS Predict 6 presented by BetMGM. 6 games, you know the drill. You win money if you get them all and get the sort of the side predictions as well. We're going to talk Seattle LAFC just to talk about the absences here. That one's on ESPN on Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. I believe it wraps up that day's matches. Boy, this is not what Bob Bradley was hoping for, right? Especially going to Seattle. He was hoping for better than Brian. And then Diego Rossi. Then Cifuentes. Then Palacios. Now Brian Rodriguez is not going to be back according to Sam Stejskal. It's basically what? It's on, Mark Anthony Kaye has been on the bench. He's been hurt. That's another just massive blow. You still have Atuesta. You have that center back tandem that's been better. But so many key pieces for this team are just moved off the board at this point. That's got to hurt, man. That's just got to be super painful. And you're the 7 seed. So even if you win, you're probably going to have to go on the road all the way up to MLS Cup just to have a chance to win this thing. Like, this is not where LAFC thought they would be. But then again, they have Carlos Vela. Is it possible? Can they make a run? Or are you already writing off 2020 postseason for them?
I'm willing to say it's over. Without Diego Rossi, without Brian Rodriguez, with a back line that hasn't been consistent at all, goalkeeper position as well. For me, LAFC going against Seattle Sounders, who know who they are, who have all their players, it's the end of the road. But that's the life we're in 2020, right? And so Carlos Vela is back, but this isn't Carlos Vela that has a full season under his belt, that is fit and coming into this one with a ton of confidence and, a guy that has 20 goals behind him. He's still trying to find himself and get into a rhythm as well. So had Carlos Vela been 100% and he's been playing this whole year and I'm like, oh, he has 15, 20 goals to back it up, then I'd say it's not as crystal clear. But with a number of those players out, Carlos Vela is still not at peak Carlos Vela. It's the end of the road.
I would say from 5 weeks ago to now, I like LAFC's chances better now than 5 weeks ago when Murillo hadn't played yet, Mark Anthony Kaye was hurt, Atuesta was coming back from injury, and Vela was out. I understand Rossi is the Golden Boot winner, and that's a huge loss. But they'll create chances. And if Bradley Wright Phillips is healthy enough to play the full game, and Vela gives you at least 40 minutes like he gave you against the Timbers on decision day, there's enough there with that midfield to create chances and win this game. And I think they're better defensively than they were a month or two ago before Murillo had gotten in and you solidified him alongside Segura and Atuesta's now fully healthy. This is a team that can win this game. If they win this game, maybe you get Rossi and Rodriguez back. It's tough to imagine that Vela, to Charlie's point with his fitness and where he's at, can carry you for 4 games and win MLS Cup. But he scored 10 minutes into his return against the Timbers in his first start, and he hit the crossbar. He basically chipped the goalkeeper and hit the crossbar. That's not a guy who's going to lack confidence. So I don't think it's over for LAFC. I think they can beat the Sounders. And if they do that, I think going into each matchup, they can beat everyone, especially if they get Rossi and Rodriguez back along the way.
And Cifuentes has been big too. So you got to include him in that.
But Cifuentes, you're not losing as much because you have K and now Atuesta and Blessing in midfield.
Assuming
he played in the last game. He came back. Now you've got they've had 2 weeks to work him back into fitness.
All right. How's this for a question for you? We know Bob. We know his sort of tenets of football, as you might say. He doesn't bend off those. He wants to play the game and have his team play the game a certain way. It might be, or probably is, that style of play actually is the best possible scenario for Brian Schmetzer and the Sounders, where the fullbacks are getting up the field, they're trying to possess in dangerous areas, and Seattle's thinking, there's space, there's opportunity. If you lose the ball once, we are going to turn around and punish you greatly. If you are Bob Bradley and you are going to Seattle and you're missing all these players and you just need a moment or two from Carlos Vela, do you entertain changing the way that you play in this playoff moment to get what amounts to some payback?
Yes, in the sense that it's not changing the ideas, but it's changing the balance. At various points of the game where they are used to having a higher press or being higher up the field, now you're going to see them drop a little bit and just be smart, knowing, okay, well, as soon as that ball goes backwards or sideways, that's when we can cheat a little bit and move up. But as soon as they start coming forward, we drop, we get behind the ball. And I've seen him, orchestrate a master tactical plan against Spain. And this is a team that was unbeatable. So I'm not trying to say that he has the same weapons and he has to go through the same mentality, use the same kind of, tactics and mentality, but it really comes down to just having that balance of, all right, guys, this is a situation we're in. We're missing a number of players. We're on the road. At times in this game, let's get behind the ball. Let's be organized. Let's not give up anything. And they will make mistakes. And that's when we try and capitalize. We get Carlos out into the space, let him just try and create for us. And then you have Bradley Wright Phillips, who's still Bradley Wright Phillips. He's in front of goal. He's going to finish. So let those two kind of really take front seat when it comes to being the aggressors in the attacking half. The rest of everyone else, we really got to be a team and be compact, be organized and structured. And I think that's the approach, and that's how you get a result on the road in Seattle.
I'm looking for the Nuhu Carlos Vela matchup. That's going to be the one I'm watching all night long. Left back, right wing, give it to me, baby. What's the result on this one? Because we got to give a prediction. It is the pick six presented by BetMGM. So what's your prediction? Charlie already gave his. He says the road's done. You say 3-1. Dave, what do you got?
I take Seattle as well. I think the openings are there. You know what you're going to get in midfield. Roldan, I think, is a game changer in MLS where he pops up. And then I look at a team where, for LAFC, and I agree with everything Charlie said of how they have to think this game. But if Tristan Blackman starts at right back and he gets caught up the field and Jordan Morris gets into space, that's game over for LAFC. And I know that LAFC will try and stop it, but where Jordan's at in his game, there are always going to be moments where he's going to find his space. And that's where, and if you have Rui Diaz as well, who's one of the 2 or 3 best finishers in the box, I just think there's going to be too many opportunities for Seattle in this one, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, too much for me too. Seattle, I have them going to MLS Cup, so they're not.
This is what Bob wants. This worked out perfect for him.
Yeah, expectations a little low. Everybody counting against them. He can be the guy. It can be his game. We'll see what he does in this one. Before we go, we have to end with a legend of the mailbag. Hank in Salt Lake City, who's been dropping absolute gold in there just repeatedly. Money. So Hank, look, we may not always get to you, man, but you are growing rapidly in our minds because you're bringing some really deep introspective thoughts and also correcting us where we need to be corrected. Remember, 401-206-0 MLS, extra time at MLSsoccer.com. What's he got to say?
He says, Doyle said Riquarte has to be a match winner on Monday for FC Dallas, but I think y'all misunderstand how Lucci is using him. To use a convenient comparison, Riquarte is not Babello Reynoso. He's a better passing version of Jan Gregus. Deep sitting, tons of ball recovery, super smooth under pressure, makes him press resistant, and consistently getting the ball to guys in spots where they can be dangerous.
Yeah, it feels like that to me, especially with the fullbacks, and it seems like he's often shaded on that right side, sort of underneath, with Brian Reynolds coming around him. So I understand that comparison. I like it. He's got to be big on this game. I think FC Dallas is probably a little bit too much for them at this point. I think Portland will handle that business, but we shall see this weekend. Let's see. Friday, 2 games, the play-in games in the Eastern Conference. You got New England, Montreal, Nashville, Miami. They start at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. At about 11, if there are no penalty kicks in that second game, Extra Time will go live on all MLS channels. So come hang out with us. Jump in the comment section of wherever you are. We'll be monitoring, producing Anders, I should say. We'll be monitoring and passing us questions. We'll break it down. We'll have guests. We will have all the highlights as well. It should be really fun. They've given us this honor, this opportunity, this responsibility. Will we squander it?
Yes.
We will not. I don't believe that we will on Saturday.
Weeby, have you not learned from Minnesota and Nashville? We got to keep the standards low. So we overperform and we say,
good point. This is going to be
everyone
garbage.
questioned us. No one believed we could do this. Here we are.
Exactly. On Saturday, you've got the Eastern Conference starting at noon. A doubleheader on Uni Mas will be around at 5 p.m. Eastern to break it down. And then on Sunday, 3 games starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, ending at midnight. We'll come to you after Portland FC Dallas. We will see you then. And, of course, tune into the pregame show as well on all the MLS channels. Big thanks to Daryl Dike. Thank you to Charlie Davies. We got the greatest hits today, Charlie. I just want to say ownership, Spain game, like wrestling.
New Gloucester FC.
I mean,
think
wow.
about it.
It's
Ken
been-
Griffey Jr., you know, the baseball experience that went completely wrong.
It was the greatest hits. You don't even need to write a biography now. They just listen to this podcast, man.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
right. It's been great to hang out with you guys. I guess I'll see you
FC.
tomorrow, Friday. We'll see you all then. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the playoff soccer.